Welcome you back into the Prowl with Kevin Ace here on HPR The Sound. A little bit of Mac Miller for your enjoyment there on the program. Kev Russell, Jeff Gilley, and Ace Ford all along with you. 336-841-9380 is the number to call. Twitter.com/the_Prowl2012. It's where you can find our official Twitter page as Kev is back in the studio with us. Now, Jeff, you have our picks from week one. Now, we've got 2 games left tonight, but we want to let the good folks at home and in their dorm rooms and across, this vast country, of course, we have listeners all across the country. We want to know how we did week one. So Kev, I guess, is going to give us this update. So who, from week one, Kevin, with 2 games remaining tonight, how did us 3 do on our picks?
Well, you and I both went 10-4. That game last night really cost me. I thought the Giants were going to pull it out. But 10-4, so we tied. Jeff said 11-3. Now, the thing is being that there's 2 games tonight, there's still anybody's ball game. But in reality, Jeff and I have the same picks tonight, and you went the complete opposite in the Eagles-Redskins game. So you could still technically pull it out. At least
because I picked the Eagles and the Texans,
yeah.
And you guys picked the Redskins and the Texans, right? You guys picked Skins and the Texans?
We have the Skins and the Texans. You have the Eagles and the Texans.
Ah.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room right now. So either you could finish dead last or you could finish in a tie for first.
Okay,
the best I can do is second or last.
Well, I think I'm going to finish up in tied for first because that's where I belong. But now that we've got...
But I will say, even if you do beat me, I still beat you in fantasy, and there's money on the line in that, so I'd rather win that.
Okay. Well, yeah, Jeff, he got me... Whatever. Kev got me in fantasy week one.
I didn't just get you. I got the entire league in fantasy
all right,
week
well,
one.
nobody cares if you got the entire league week one. It's fine.
I mean, that means I'm in first place.
I
won my matchup, and I'm in first place because I have the most points because I'm just a draft genius.
You're not a draft... You're not a...
Everyone killed my draft. Yahoo, they give out these automated rankings now. Gave me a B-.
You're not a draft genius. You got
they
lucky
gave you an A+,
week...
but look at who won week one.
You got lucky in week one is all that matters. I had a couple guys that should have produced. Danny Amendola didn't get a touchdown against the Bills. You can't predict that kind of stuff. You just got lucky is all that it was.
It was not lucky. It was skill.
While we have Kev back with us in the studio, and again, we have Ryan Krasny of the Big Ten Network joining us at 10:45, so we're going to cut this session short. But a couple things. First, get some opinions from your Jets game as we have another caller here on the program. Jeff will screen that call for us. But until that caller gets on, some quick thoughts about Geno Smith from his first week of action, Kev. Geno Smith, his first week of action.
Yeah, sorry, I'm listening to Jeff try and screen this call, make sure we don't have a little mishap like we did last week. But Geno Smith's first game, I'll tell you what. I liked what I saw at times, okay? But I really think he could have done even more, but they had the training wheel still on. Case in point, first play of the game on offense. Geno hits Curley, I think it was Curley for like a 26-yard gain. Beautiful pocket was there, perfect pocket presence, stepped up, delivered a strike. 26 yards. Then they go 3 and out on the next 3 plays because they decide to bring in the Wildcat. Get him comfortable. You can't be taking him in and out. Mark Sanchez told you that last year, how he didn't like the fact that it was always he'd have one good play and then they'd switch him out and bring in someone else. The quarterback position is all about consistency and really just building that chemistry. And you come in, you make a great play, and then you're pulled. What does that tell your mind? I mean, I know he wasn't getting pulled because he had a bad play, obviously. He had a great play. But the way that your mind's taught is if you're coming out of the game, it's because you did something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's just where I think you've got to really nurture a young quarterback like that. And I think that's where Mark Sanchez's development went down the tubes last year, is because they kept bringing in Tebow. They kept bringing in all these guys to run the Wildcat. And now this year it's Bilal Powell, Jeremy Curley. They've got too many guys they don't know what to do with.
Yeah. So as Kev will throw the microphone, or Jeff will throw the microphone over to our caller is Joel, a regular caller to the program in many forms and fashions. So Joel, how you doing, buddy? And what's your question or your comment?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on. This is more of a comment for Kevin. I would just like to let Kevin know that he still has the possibility of finishing 4th in our league after this week. The uncle is only 18 points back and still has LaShawn McCoy to play. Logan's team is only 20 points back and has Alfred Morris left, and then Captain Crunch, which is Tim's team, that has 126 points, only 11 back, and he still has Owen Daniels. So, Kevin, I would just like to point out that you could still finish 4th this week.
See, I always like when Joel calls because he has very insightful information. I mean, Kevin here is breaking the microphone as we speak, but we appreciate the call there, Joel. And as soon as Kevin gets his mic figured out, I'm sure he'll have some kind of response. But don't you like that? I like when Joel calls in and he's just got, he's very matter of fact. He doesn't spruce up details. It's pretty straightforward, and he just knows when to just bring you back down, 5 or 6 notches where you belong, Kev.
Well, let's be real. I've already calculated the fact that LaShawn McCoy is not going to get Joel 18 points. Joel's losing his game right now.
Joel is losing
Kevin
his
game.
Calculating right now. Kevin's a calculator now, folks.
Joel is currently losing his matchup to Mike, okay? So he's got to worry about winning his matchup first before he can talk about beating me. I've already clinched our game pretty much. I mean, I know you have J.J. Watt, but let's be real. If J.J. Watt gets you 30 points, I'll be the most surprised human being in the world.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any way he's going to get 30 points, so I'll give you that. But
seriously,
he
Joel calls in and tries to talk smack, but he's losing right now. He needs to worry about winning his first round matchup.
That's very true. I'll give you that. But so certainly some fun stuff going on there with fantasy stuff. But another quarterback quickly. We've got another minute or so before we go to break. EJ Manuel is a guy that we didn't know what we were going to see out of him week 1. And he didn't put up gaudy numbers, but he kept his team in the ballgame, made a couple nice throws down the stretch. EJ Manuel finishes up 18 for 27, 150 yards, 2 scores, wasn't sacked, ran the ball 3 times for 23 yards, and led the Bills to a fairly improbable upset over the Patriots week 1.
Exactly, and it was a very close upset. And, I like the fact that Doug Marrone didn't come into his press conference yesterday, Doug Marrone being the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, first year out of Syracuse. He didn't come in and say that was a moral victory. He took it right on the sleeve. People were knocking him for that. They're saying this isn't college anymore. You can't take losses in the NFL on the sleeve like that.
Yeah.
But I like that mentality. I really like the fact that he's wearing it hard, and they're going to get after it in practice this week. They're going to make some adjustments, and they're going to win close games in the future. I see that Bills team as being much improved this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was.
But back to your point. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Back to your point about EJ Manuel and Geno Smith having good debuts in their first games. Obviously, Geno getting the win. EJ almost pulling off what would have been the biggest upset of the day. The thing that I think they add most to their teams is mobility. Yeah. And that's something you need in quarterbacks nowadays because defensive linemen are getting quicker than offensive linemen. So it's very hard to keep a clean pocket and keep a quarterback clean. You saw that last night with Eli Manning. Eli Manning's not mobile, and his offensive line couldn't protect him for 6-7 seconds like he needed.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that Geno's way more athletic than Sanchez. Let's put it this way. Sanchez never would have even gotten the chance to have that personal foul called against him late in the game because Sanchez would have probably thrown the ball away or threw a pick.
Very true.
But EJ Manuel and Geno Smith add that dimension of mobility, and that's something huge for both their teams.
Yeah. So we'll go to break. When we come back, we'll have Ryan Krasny of the Big Ten Network, join us here on the program. We'll talk some Michigan, Notre Dame. We'll also talk Ohio State and just talk college football in general with Ryan. So that'll come up here in the next few moments. So we'll go to break. When we come back, Ryan will join us here on the program. This is The Prowl with Kevin Ace on